your friendly neighborhood atheist here. As we enter the new year, I wanted to quickly make a video and try something new out. In my free time, I listen to a lot of music, and a lot of it is very, very good stuff that I think is often overlooked. So today, I wanted to give you my top 10 list of the best albums I've heard this year. So before we get started, a few things. First, in general, when I use music in a video, the artist who made it is offering it for free to download from some site or another, generally Bandcamp. For this list, though, there are a number of albums that cost, actual monies to get, and when they come up, I'll mention the lowest legal price for them that I've found. I'm not a fan of illegal downloading, so if you like the music you hear on this list, please buy the albums, don't steal them. If I don't mention a price, though, they can be downloaded for free, and all the links to download or purchase any of the albums on here can be found in the description below. Secondly, there are EPs on this list. I wanted to say that just so you don't go off expecting to find a full-length album and get disappointed. I'll be honest, if there were demos that I thought deserved to be on this list, I would have put them on. I listened to enough demos that I could have. I'm not changing this. Deal. Finally, I'm obviously not a professional reviewer. I don't listen to all the releases because it's not my job. This is just for fun. So if something didn't get on this list that you think I would have liked, I probably just didn't hear it. If you want, send it to me. I love listening to new music. With that out of the way, I think I'll start this list with a couple of honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 3. Imber Luminis, Imber Aeternus. This was some really good depressive black metal from an artist that I consider some sort of music god. His name's Deha, and I've linked his Bandcamp page below. This album is composed of 2 excellent, long-form, heavily depressive songs which are both free to download. Honorable mention number 2. Reflection of a Star, Lost in a No-Sound Space. Interesting music that I describe as celestial ambient. Very atmospheric, very evocative, very open and free-form. If you like ambient soundscapes, I highly recommend you check this band out. They released a bunch of stuff over the last couple of years. This is my favorite album they made this year. Honorable mention number 1. Human Cull, Stillborn Nation. These guys make some of the best grind I've ever freaking heard. Each of their songs is a tightly packed masterpiece, almost always under a minute and a half. If you want to hear some of the best biker songs ever made, go check these guys out immediately. Their full length they released this year isn't my favorite album of theirs so far, but it's still easily my honorary number 11 spot for this list. That wraps it up for honorable mentions. Now, on to the list. Number 10. Hexis, Abalam. It figures that right after talking about my favorite grind album, I talk about my favorite punk album. These pissed off Danes really bring the hardcore spirit, with pissed off shouting over frantic riffage and really cool blackcore sound. Gets me to punch someone in the face. A January release, but it stuck with me all through the year, all the way to the end, so I like what I hear. Number 9. Pyrrhon, the mother of all virtues. If you've got an ear to the ground of the modern death metal scene, you may have heard of this one, but it still stands out as absolutely top-notch, evil-sounding music. I'm kind of a latecomer to this album, considering it was released in April, and I didn't hear it until this month, and I have yet to work through all of its insane intricacies. However, if you're in the mood for some crazy, shifting, progressive modern death, you won't go wrong on this release, which costs $10 and can be purchased from Bandcamp, linked below, or on iTunes. Number 8. Panoptitron, Metal Future. The only other more or less straight-up death metal album on here, but beyond that, I'm really not sure how to introduce this weirdness. So, allow me to quote from their bio on Bandcamp. Heavy metal from the future, about the future, and for the future. Narrowly escaping the cataclysm in the year 2XXX, 2 musicians have come back to the 21st century to tell their tale of the giant robot known only as the Panoptitron. So bear witness, and don't say you weren't warned, as they weave a tale so harrowing and heavy that it may alter the very future as they knew it. If that isn't awesome, I don't know what is. And moreover, they have the music to back it up. Worth a listen, or a couple dozen. Number 7. Windy City Slaughter, Alpha. I've already introduced these guys in another video, so I'll keep this brief. They're a Canadian progressive deathcore band, and let me say that in general, I'm far from being a fan of deathcore. But these guys won me over with serious playing chops, catchy music, awesome riffs, and actually creative breakdowns. I didn't think those were possible, but I'm here to tell you that yes, they actually are. Number 6. Qualeaceans, Capture of Ziz. This entry is just bizarre. The band is incredibly secretive about the identity of its members, to the point where I don't actually know where they're from. This is their debut album, and it's an absolute monster, 78 minutes long, and all one song, making it the longest metal song in existence. They call themselves Metal in Opposition, and that's pretty much how they sound, switching from industrial metal to acoustic weirdness to groove metal to heavy progressive stuff in a moment's notice. For a metal nerd like me, this is pure gold. Definitely a band to watch. Number 5, Indian, From All Purity. Another January release that hasn't fallen out of rotation yet, and spoiler alert, another one will show up further down this list. Indian actually have a pretty well-established fan base, and I suppose they're probably moderately well-known. That said, From All Purity, with its reverb-drenched, noise-influenced black crust goodness, was a tough pill for even fans of the band to swallow. In my opinion, they captured lightning in a bottle. Some of the riffs on Rape and Rhetoric of No, I swear, were stuck in my head for months. $6 to purchase on Bandcamp. Number 4, Jute, Gyte, Vast Chains. Another one-man maniac who also happens to be a Class A genius. To give you a sense of just how insane this guy, Adam Kalmbach, is, he's released 23 albums since 2006. That's almost 4 per year, guys. That's just insane. And his music sounds insane, too, now more than ever. That's because for his last 3 albums, 2 of which came out this year, he started playing on guitars fitted to play on a 24-tone scale. And let me tell you, he doesn't just use those extra tones from time to time for effect. No, they're actually a central part of the chord structure and riffage on all 3 of these albums. This produces chords that don't just sound challenging or atonal, they sound plain wrong, even out of key. But despite all that, after a few listens, you can really start to hear that everything does fit together and follow highly musical patterns, even when it sounds like total chaotic noise. For this list, I'm picking out my favorite of the 2 albums he released this year, which happens to be the earlier one, Vast Chains. All of his albums are free to download on Bandcamp. Yes, all 23 of them. Number 3, Abyssal, Novit enim Dominus qui sunt euis. Black Death done right. I can't count the number of times I've heard overplayed, overworked albums in this genre that just ended up sounding stale, boring, or predictable. But Abyssal really changed all that. They've mixed in doom influences and even some thrash and made this really huge, dynamic work that sounds like a genre-defying classic. This is only their 2nd album, and I think they've actually improved their sound for the first time around. But don't take my word. Go find them, see what you think. Number 2, Titanis, Celestial Aggression. Ah, Titanis. The very first band I ever featured. Their EP still sounds as good to me as it did the first time I heard it. Every single riff on the 3 tracks they've recorded so far is top quality, and their melodies aren't half bad either. This is far and away the best doom music I've heard this year, in fact, for a few years. With that out of the way, it's time to introduce my pick for the very best album of the year. And it is number 1. We All Die Laughing, Thoughtscanning. What do you know, Deha's on board with this one. Actually though, this sounds nothing like the rest of his work to my ears. In fact, I would barely classify this as metal, especially since the iTunes version of this album has a cover of an Amy Winehouse song on it. The album itself is yet another one-song work, this one being only 36 minutes long. The lyrics are some of the most nihilistic I've heard in a long time, and the music is amazingly catchy. I'm pretty sure I can sing along to the entire thing. The really amazing thing about this album is that even though it's like a 37-minute long piece, it never feels like multiple songs put together, which I've never really heard done successfully for a non-doom-oriented song over 15 minutes, without it being, incredibly repetitious. This, on the other hand, never gets old. So what does it sound like? Doomy goth rock wouldn't be too far off, but that doesn't come close to sounding as cool as the music actually does, so I'd call it something like progressive, depressive, death doom rock with jazz influences, except that's way too much of a mouthful. You really just have to hear it to get what it sounds like. It costs about $8 on Bandcamp, and yes, it was released January of this year. For some reason, that was a really good month, go figure. I recommend you buy the iTunes version, even though it's slightly more expensive, because it's worth it to hear the Amy Winehouse cover, bizarre as that might sound. And with that said, those are my picks for the top 10 best albums of 2014. Happy New Year, everyone, and expect a lot more content coming at you in the next couple months. I've got some great videos lined up. And on that note, thank you everyone so much for watching. This has been your friendly neighborhood atheist, and until next time, best wishes.